Swinging a drive, right field and deep. Back goes Aquino. It's got a chance. Gone. Get out the tape measure. Long gone.
Fly the W!
Cubs fans, it's time to fly the W with Dustin Rhodes and Paul Crawly Jean.
This is the Fly the W podcast. It's episode 39 of season number 4. The Cubs, Crawly, they squeak past the Pirates. Don't forget to listen, download, subscribe. Most importantly, review the podcast. Follow on all the socials. I'm at Mully and Haw on X.
And you can follow me at Crawly's Cubs on X, Blue Sky, and TikTok, and Crawly's Clubhouse on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. You can email us at crawlysclubhouse@gmail.com. Dustin, I just want you to know I did tune into your post game on Friday.
Oh, the post game. Yeah, sorry about that. The pregame was a little bit better. Post game I thought was a little rough. It's harder than you would think. I mean, there are a lot of elements to that, and we got a 2-1 game in 10 innings, so it was hard to make sure you got to all the things you must get to in order to service all your sponsors. So you want to do that. So it was harder than I expected. Kudos to Zach for making it so smooth. I did the best I could. It wasn't awful,
I thought it was good.
It was okay at best. Hopefully I get another opportunity, but great vantage point. Zach was great. Ron was great. Paul Zarang, the engineer, was great. Zarang won the attendance game. Yeah. I came in second that day on the attendance. But everybody was great. Good time. Went into the Catalina Club, saw some people down there. But yeah, good time. Red line back. Had a beer in the middle of the city with a buddy. So it was good. And then Saturday, while we're telling this story, you and I were just talking about before we started, went down and had access to that barrel room. And that's pretty bougie and great seats, great time. And yeah, it was good. I have not been to a game, Crawly, in 3 years probably. Oof. Not been to a game in 3 years. And I missed it. It was great. So it was cool to do it in such very different ways, being in, the radio booth and then being in the barrel room. So. And
for people that haven't been in the radio booth, I mean, they just don't even understand the view you get from up there, just how different it is.
It's like a straight shot, but it's like overlooking the entire thing. It's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
You got Lake Michigan in the background, the boats, all that stuff. It's unreal, man. So that's awesome. And not only that, you got to see a win as well.
I got one loss and one win. Friday I got the loss, but I got extra baseball. So we got extra baseball. And then Saturday got the win thanks to Dansby Swanson. But we're going to get into that right now, Crawly. Let's get into game number 1. This was Thursday night, so this is one of Crawly's favorites, a 4-game series. Jameson Taillon on the mound, and he did his job again, Crawly.
Yeah, you and I were confident going into this one that they would win, and they did by a 3-2 score. And that's I was at this game. You were at Friday, Saturday. I was at Thursday, so we had this pretty much covered. But like all 4 games in the series, it was a nail biter, right?
Yes.
And like
nothing easy. None of them were easy. Right. None of them.
All 4 games, there wasn't a lot of offense. Each team in this game only had 4 hits. We talked about Jameson Taillon and what he's done this season. He was phenomenal on Thursday night. Gave up 2 runs on 6 1/3 innings, 2 walks, struck out 7, and only gave up 4 hits. He gave up a single to Andrew McCutchen in the first because death taxes and Andrew McCutchen hitting at Wrigley Field, right? Those things don't change.
Unbelievable. I've always wondered what he would be like. And I, if you want to talk, if we just get off the script a little bit here for a second, he's somebody that I find very interesting potentially. I'd have to look at his contract, but he DHs for them. He DHs for. But I wonder if he would be interested because of how well he hits, if he'd be interested in a trade to the Cubs to be like the swing DH, maybe an outfielder, pinch hitter, that kind of that. I feel like they're short a DH/outfielder right now, in my opinion.
Now, as far as McCutchen is concerned, it'd just be tough because they have such ill will among that fan base towards the owner. That just giving up on a like a local guy like that, you know what I mean?
And he's right now, other than Skeens, he's maybe the 3rd or 4th face of the franchise, right? It's Skeens, O'Neal Cruz, right? It's number 2. I mean, he might be number 3.
Yeah, it'd be tough to get him because he doesn't cost you a lot. He's a hometown favorite. And I don't think you would get much for him, at least as far as relative to what he means to the franchise.
Well, I just wonder
I
if he
disagree
would
with it,
want
though.
out though. Like if he would want out and say, "Hey, I want to go to Chicago." You know, if there was interest from the Cubs, I'd like to try to win. But anyway, sorry, but yes, McCutchen is always great at Wrigley, and I'd always wonder what he'd look like in that uniform.
Right. We would have made him shave off his cool dreadlocks. I don't think he ever got those back. Remember when he went to the Yankees? All right. Now, the only other base runner that reached were O'Neill Cruz, who drew a walk in the third. He was thrown out trying to steal second on a cannon of a throw by Carson Kelly. And Jared Triolo walked. But for Taillon, his 6th straight quality start. We just cannot emphasize how important Jameson Taillon has been to this team this year, losing 2 starters.
Yep. Unbelievable. Again, he's not flashy. He aggravates me at times. I know I called one of his performances, but specifically the statistic about a quality start, and I still will stand by it. I think quality starts are hot garbage, especially when you're giving up home runs and it counts as a quality start. It's just like the unearned run by the pitcher, right? The unearned run, the pickoff throw over to first by Matthew Boyd, that counted as a unearned run. It's like, wait a minute, you're the one who made the error. You should have to wear that.
Correct. Now we knew Taillon, we knew he'd have his usual quality start. What we didn't know is that Andrew Heaney would have one as well. He went 6 innings and gave up 3 runs on 4 hits, but 2 of those hits were homers with 7 Ks. Heaney sat down the first 10 Cubs he faced until giving up a 1-out single, Kyle Tucker in the 4th. That single was big because PCA would come up with 2 outs and hit a laser 390 feet to the right field bleachers. Dustin, the crazy thing, first off, the wind was blowing in. Cold game, wind is blowing in. Dustin, if you're watching on Crawly's Clubhouse YouTube channel, everybody knows the book on PCAs. If you can get him out, it's going to be on a pitch high and out of the zone. And that's what it was. It was a pitch high and out of the zone, and he was still able to hit a home run. So, if we take a look at this tweet from the great Sarah Lang right here, she said PCA now has this homer on a pitch 3.90 feet above the ground and a homer this year from a 0.86 feet pitch. So PCA is the first player with homers on both 3.90 feet and less than 0.90 feet off the ground in a season under the StatCast era.
That's amazing. It's just he is amazing what he does, and he does so many different things at an elite level.
Right. That's just ridiculous. Literally, it was a perfect pitch. That's what I would have said, throw it high. And that's what he did. And PCA still found a way. So good on him. Gives the Cubs a 2-0 lead. The Cubs would add an insurance run in the bottom of the 6th when PCA's older brother, Seiya Suzuki, hit a 2-out solo home run. That puts the Cubs up 3-0. And Dustin, Seiya and PCA have really been carrying this offense this year. If you take a look here, this is from StatMuse, MLB. Seiya Suzuki is 4th in RBIs, 9th in slugging, tied 9th in home runs, 21st in weighted runs created plus. PCA, 5th in RBIs, 7th in slug, 8th in home runs, 24th in runs created plus. But, for me, I knew Seiya could be this. PCA having this kind of breakout year, we said if the Cubs are going to make the postseason, we need someone to break out. And PCA has done just that. And so he has had a great season so far. Unbelievable.
I know I got behind him a while back and took a lot of grief for it, but he has been really, really good. So the Cubs got out to that 3-0 lead, but then the Pirates start making the comeback, right?
Unfortunately, it's never easy, right? Top of the 7, 1-out. Taillon still on the mound. Spencer Horwitz doubles, the only extra base hit J-Mo would give up. Adam Frazier would single to make it a 3-1 game. And Isaiah Kander-Falefa singles to put 2 runners on and end Taillon's night. 3 of the 4 hits Taillon gave up came in the 7th. So Brad Keller, who's been lights out this season, comes out of the pen. He strikes out Tommy Pham for the 2nd out. But then he hits the number 8 hitter to load the bases and walks the number 9 hitter with the bases loaded. Another run crosses the plate. So you hit the number 8 hitter, you walked the number 9 hitter, and now you got to face O'Neill Cruz with the bases loaded.
Not usually exactly a recipe. Yeah, exactly. That is a recipe for disaster right there, Crawly. A recipe for disaster. I thought the worst.
Keller was able to strike out O'Neill Cruz on a slider to end the threat, Dustin. The thing about that one, too, and I know you were complaining about the quality starter, the unearned run if you're the pitcher. Brad Keller walked in that run, but he still has a 0.00 ERA because the run was charged to Tyone.
Yeah,
So
and that's another weird rule, right? I mean, because he inherited him, right? That's the
Right.
ruling.
Yep.
He inherited the runner, so that's why it goes on his stat sheet, not the other way around. I mean, if anything, maybe they should have it, right? Maybe
Split
like
the difference?
you get like each guy gets charged with a half a run, maybe.
So I'm sitting at the game, and all of a sudden I see Daniel Palencia is up in the 7th. And I said, what the heck? Is he going to go with the 6-out save? Daniel Palencia comes in. He's been closing, right? He's been doing a great job. So Daniel Palencia comes out. Is he going for the 6-out save? No. Ryan Presley, who hadn't had a save opportunity since May 6, comes into the game. Now we know Presley came to the Cubs expecting to be the closer. But
Well, that was part of the deal, right?
Yeah,
When he was kind of like hemming and hawing about whether he wanted to move his family and all that.
It's not in a contract, but it was expected that he would be the closer. But he had a meltdown against the Giants, and he was, kind of put in a bunch of lower leverage spots and slowly worked his back into Craig's circle of trust here. And so Presley was able to get 3 ground balls to the right side of the infield. Cubs win. Crawly wins, right? Presley has not given up an earned run since giving up 8 runs against the Giants in 14 straight appearances since May 9th. Dustin, I was at that game where he gave up 8 runs, and it was just brutal. 8 runs in one inning.
He's rebounded very nicely. Very nice.
He was asked about that, and here's what he had to say.
A lot of people have reached out to me, friends, teammates that I've played with, teammates that I looked up to, and even younger guys, like they, everybody, can have something to say to you. And, I'm always open-minded and I love talking about baseball and seeing what other people think or what they would do in that situation. And, I had Happer write a full report on me and see what a hitter thinks on me and stuff like that. So, position players help pitchers too. So I, can be thankful for my teammates and, helping me in a really bad situation, I guess.
So did he volunteer that, or what was this report that he?
No, he's already got a lot on his plate, trying to get ready for the game, and I added a little bit extra to see if he could help me, and he did, and he pulled me off to the side, and he helped me out a lot.
And so, can you kind of just, it's so interesting, because you wanted a glimpse at maybe what was not.
Yeah, I wanted to see what, hitters got to prepare for pitchers too, right? So, I mean, when I get a report on me and, I can kind of see what I've been doing and what, my tendencies were. And I think we got, a little happy with one pitch in particular. And now we just got to mix everything in now. Yeah, I mean, you got to be humble in this.
So I think that was really cool, Dustin. And I wonder, why that doesn't happen more, right? Like if you got a pitcher struggling, if I would go, and this is Ian Happ. So basically Presley asked Ian Happ, if you were going up against me, what would you be doing? What would you be looking for? What would you try to pick up on me? And I don't know if that was it. Maybe it helped them a little bit. Maybe it helped them a lot. I don't know. But think about this. All the time these guys spend there, obviously not day of game, but if you're sitting there on a plane ride, right, to California, to LA or something, sit next to a pitcher, pick his brain. I don't know. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I thought this story was very cool when it got reported that they had that moment. I thought that was super cool.
Now, game 2, Dustin, is the one that we were both worried about. Cade Horton versus Paul Skeens. You had the Pirates' one-time top pitching prospect versus the Cubs' top pitching prospect. And, you had to like what you saw from Cade Horton, right? He pitched 5 2/3 innings of shutout ball. He gave up only 3 hits, 1 walk, 4 Ks. He gave up a 2-out double to Brian Reynolds in the first. With 2 outs in the fourth, he gave up a single and a walk. But in general, not a lot of traffic. And when there was, he was able to get out of it with no runs crossing the plates.
Right.
And
he went longer.
Yep.
He went longer. He
Yep.
struck out 1 less guy.
Yeah.
He walked less guys, and he did it on about 20 less pitches.
Right. And so now you're looking at Cade. He's allowed 3 or fewer runs in 6 of his last 7 major league appearances over his first 3 starts in Wrigley Field. He's walked 2 batters or fewer in 6 of his 7 career major league outings. That's what impresses me the most, is just a lot of times, these guys, they come up from the minors and they think they can nibble, and major league hitters aren't going to bite. Okay. But with him, he doesn't do that. And I love it. And what about what Cade Horton had to say about facing off against Paul Skeens?
I'm not scared of the moment. I love the moment. Just going out there and competing. It's all about one pitch. I
mean, I love that guy's attitude. We've talked about that bulldog attitude, and
absolutely love it. Yep. He's the type of guy, in the conversation, I'm sure you and your buddies, you and your Cub friends also have had these conversations. It's been a conversation on the score for about, I don't know, a week now, and then after that performance, did it change your mind if you were one way or the other before the game on Friday? Is, whether or not you would trade a Cade Horton for a guy like Chris Sale?
God.
Would you trade him for a Zach, who's the guy on Arizona, Crawly?
Zach Gallen?
Yeah, Gallen. Would you trade it? Would you trade him for a guy like that? And, if you're not watching us right now, Crowley's kind of rolling his eyes and shaking his head in the video. Not so sure about that. But I think it's an interesting – let me ask you this, Crowley. Do you think that either one of those two guys I mentioned, Gallen or Sale, would be enough, assuming Suzuki comes back and it was in the same form that he was in before he got hurt? Do you think that would be enough to win the pennant?
The trouble with with the postseason in baseball is that there's just so much randomness in a short sample size, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk about the Cubs hitting in a little bit, but that's the trouble. I don't know, but boy, when in 2016, I was dead certain that getting Aroldis Chapman was the final piece of the puzzle. Do I have that degree of confidence to give up on a guy like Cade Horton for this team to get an ace? Obviously, you always are going to want an ace. No one's going to turn that down. But are you turning down 1 or 2 year a potential future front end of the rotation guy?
Right, both those guys. Both those guys are out of control. There's no control, right?
Right.
It's one and done unless you're going to sign him. And then both guys, especially Gallen. Gallen is playing for a very reasonable, cheap salary. I think he's on like a $13.5 million contract, right? So in today's, it's nothing. Right. That's nothing. So he's going to be wanting that. But again, if he came to the Cubs, that might set him up and propped him up, if you will, for other teams to take a look at.
I would be hesitant just to answer your question. I'd be hesitant to do that. We talked about the game plan against Skeens, right? You're not going to score a lot of runs against them, but make them work. Elevate the pitch count. Get them out of there early and go to town on the bullpen. And the Cubs did all of that except go to town on the bullpen, right? The pen held them scoreless. Bottom of the third, 1 out. Reese McGuire singles, Ian Happ walks, 2 on, 1 out with Kyle Tucker and Sayup. They both fly out. Bottom of the fourth, Michael Busch with a double. Nico grounds out. Bottom of the fifth, 2 out. Ian Happ walks. Kyle Tucker, this is their best scoring chance. You saw this. The ball hits off the wall and ricochets right to O'Neal Cruz, who hit the relay man, IKF, who then throws out Happ at the plate. It was a perfectly executed 8-6-2 put out. I wasn't mad, right? Against Skeens,
and the ball kind of, if I remember it right. And the funny thing is being at the game, right? Like I got one replay of that, just one. That's all I was able to catch. And I felt like the ball hit off the metal door. Mm-hmm. And went right to the left fielder.
Yeah, that's absolutely what happens. And so, it was to O'Neal Cruz. So, if it would have gone a few feet to the left, few feet to the right, it hits the ivy, it just dies. Right. That's a run.
Plus it's getting wet, right? Plus the ball's getting wet, so you don't know how it's going to come off the guy's hand when he throws it. That's going to be an issue because it was a crappy day. Let's face it. Great pitching matchup, but I had a great seat in the Cubs radio booth, but it was misting. When I got there, they were kind of some guys were working out, and then as Zach likes to say, they brought the tarpling out, right? And I was like, uh-oh. And they end up starting right on time. But I thought at one point about the fourth inning, I thought they were going to have to stop it. And I'm like, we're going to lose this pitching matchup because both guys are going to have to come out and they're not going to get them back up. So
did you get an umbrella hat? Because I thought that was brilliant marketing on the path.
Yeah, I did not. I saw one. There was one in the booth. And before I could snake it, somebody else did.
Well, best chance, and they took it, and I don't regret it. He did not, but Skeens didn't come out for the 6th. 5 scoreless inning, 4 hits, 2 walks, 5 Ks, but he threw, and this is what you're talking about, 95 pitches. But the Cubs didn't do anything against the Pirates' pen, which had to cover 5 innings, right?
Yep.
So both the Pirates and the Cubs scored a run, each Brad Keller in the 8th. Pirates played some small ball in the 8th after Keller gave off a leadoff double to Henry Davis, take a 1-0 lead. Keller had his career high streak of 23 innings, 21 games without allowing an earned run snapped. So that was a career high, Dustin, and that was the longest active in the major leagues as far as innings without giving up a run. The Cubs answered back with a Kyle Tucker walk in the bottom of the inning, say a single PCA ground out to put runners at the corner. Pete Stoll second, and Tucker scored on a Dansby fielder's choice. Neither team scored in the 9th, right? So we get free baseball. You get free baseball.
An extra baseball. Yeah.
Manfred Mann on second, Drew Pomeranz on the mound. Key Brian Hayes singled, but Adam Frazier on second couldn't advance. They executed double steal. Henry Davis walks. So now you got bases loaded and you're in some trouble here. IKF hits a sac fly to put the Buccos up 2-1. Runners at the corner, 1 out, but Pomeranz gets O'Neill Cruz hitting a double play. I thought that was a great job by Pomeranz to limit the damage to 1 run and give the Cubs a chance to score.
No doubt about that. No, you're 100% right, Crawly. 100%.
Now the Cubs couldn't. They go on, and the Pirates are going to score in the top of the 10th, and that's it. But David Bednar had a easy 1-2-3 inning. Cubs lose in 10. But Dustin, the story on this one was runners in scoring position. 0 for 10.
Well, 9 guys left on base, Crawly. 9 guys. And the approach, can we go back to that for a second? The approach in the bottom of the 10th was just awful. It was like they were sick and tired of playing in that slot. You know what I mean? I just felt like it was just like, all right, let's get out of here.
Yeah. And the thing, too, that kills you is that Craig Counsell brought this up. You had so many situations with your big guns up, whether it was Kyle Tucker or Seiya Suzuki or whoever you were, Ian Happ, whatever. Even in extras, right? The runner on second was the Manfred Mann was the Reese McGuire. Vidal Brujan came in, but it was the top of their order. And like you said, they just went down with a whimper. So it was a frustrating ending to that game.
A whimper is a good word for it. All right. So the Cubs and Pirates now are even in a game apiece. We got 2 more games. Now he moves into the Saturday matchup, and Matthew Boyd was on the mound for the Cubs.
Yeah, the Cubs were able to flip this one, win it 2-1. Didn't get off to a good start as your guy, Andrew McCutchen. It's a first-inning solo home run off Matthew Boyd to give the Pirates a 1-0 lead. Boyd would then sit down the next 14 Pirate hitters he faced before giving a leadoff walk to Tommy Pham in the 6th. Now, we usually say look out because those leadoff walks come around to score. Not this time, as Boyd picks off Pham, his MLB best 6th pickoff of the season, and then he retired the next 2 batters. So Boyd has picked off a runner, Dustin, in a career-high 3 consecutive games, tying a Cubs franchise record with Bill Hands, who did it in 1970, and Rick Sutcliffe did it twice in 85 and 86. So kind of a cool little stat there. But Boyd, pitched 6 innings.
Good company. Good names.
Gave up 1 run on 1 hit, both the McCutchen homer and 1 walk, which was then picked off in 3 Ks. For Boyd, we talked about Tyone. He's made quality starts in 7 of his last 8 outings since May 5th. I mean, I don't even want to think where we'd be out without Tyone and Boyd here.
No, they've been fantastic, no doubt.
Once again, the Cubs offense didn't do much this time against youngster Michael Burrows. The Cubs were able to tie up the game in the bottom of the 3rd. Nico lit off with a single, stole second, advanced to 3rd on a Mashal ground out. And then Ian Happ scored him on a pop fly. That was the only run they got off Burrows, who tied his career high 5.1 innings pitch and gave up only 1 run on 5 hits, no walks. He also had a career high of 8 strikeouts. The Cubs were once again 0 for with runners in scoring position, going 0 for 5, 4 men on base this time. Daniel Swanson was able to put the Cubs ahead with a solo home run in the bottom of the 6th. Daniel Palencia would close this one out with 2 strikeouts. You love the win, Dustin, but not a lot of offense again.
Nope, not a lot of offense again, but fly the W. It was nice that Swanson had the poke, right? That was that was good. So I like that. Now we get into the 4th game, and the Cubs have a chance to take 3 of 4 on Father's Day.
How cool is this on Father's Day that the players came out with their kids? I thought that was an amazing touch. I don't know if that was our friend Jen who did that, or I don't know who did it. And we got Clark with his dad. It was a pretty cool moment at the beginning of the game. But, I'm thinking to myself, all right, for most of the games, Dustin, and you were there at 2, I was there at 1. The wind, it was cold. The wind was blowing in. Maybe be a little bit different, right? On Sunday, 75 degrees at the start of the game. Wind was blowing in a little bit from center, but lots of offense in the 1st inning. Mitch Keller on the ground. Maybe this was where the Cubs offense would come to life. No. Colin Ray started for the Cubs, and the Pirates greeted him with 3 singles from the first 4 batters to start the game, and that put the Buccos up 1-0 with 1 out and runners at the corners. Former Cub prospect Alexander Canario hit a weak chopper to 3rd. John Birdie, who got the start, made a nice play to get Canario, but another run scores. Cubs are down 2-0 before they even come up to bat. But the Cubs answer back with a pair of runs on their own. Ian Happ leads with a walk, still 2nd, and advanced to 3rd on a PCA groundout, and scores on a Seiya groundout to make it a 2-1 ball game. With 2 outs, Michael Busch hit a ground rule double that hopped out of play along the 3rd baseline. Swanson had a clutch 2-out single to tie the game up. And then after that, Dustin, nothing. Neither team, after the second inning, neither team would have a runner in scoring position until the bottom of the ninth.
Nope.
Ray would pitch.
It took some time. It took some time. Not exactly the most exciting Father's Day Sunday baseball game.
No, Ray would pitch 6 innings, give up 2 runs on 4 hits, but 3 of those hits and all the runs came in the first. Mitch Kellner, almost exactly the same thing, pitched 6 innings, gave up 2 runs on 3 hits, 2 of those hits coming in the first inning. Bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, Dansby singles, and Nico Dubras to put runners at second and third with 2 outs, but Justin Tucker grounds out to end the threat. Free baseball for the second time in 3 games. Chris Flexen pitched a scoreless 10th to set up the win for the Cubs. Vidal Brujan becomes the Manfred man at second. Justin, Council pinch hits Kyle Tucker for Reese McGuire. Kyle Tucker with a rare day off. He is intentionally walked, and then Council calls for the double steal. Runners advance to second and third. Birdie strikes out, but Ian Happ singles to walk it off. Cubs win 3-2. Dustin, when we do the tail of the tape, we let our listeners know where the Cubs ranks versus their opponent. But when we do that, we're looking at the entire season, right? And when you look at the entire season, the story looks pretty good. Cubs are 5th in batting average, 8th in on-base percentage, and 4th in slugging. That's really damn good. But when you isolate those numbers over the last 15 days, Dustin, the Cubs are 26th in average, 30th in on-base percentage, and 23rd in slugging. That is awful. Yeah. But somehow they've been able to go 9-6 in their last 15 games, despite not really having an offense. Right. And Dustin, this is a classic Chris Kompka one right here. This is the Cubs' record this season in games hitless with runners in scoring position. The Cubs are 5-4. That's a .556 win percentage with runners hitless and runners in scoring position. The rest of MLB is 77 and .366. That's .174. I mean, that's a hell of a lot of luck, a little bit of slug, but that includes the 2 wins and a loss in the 4-game series versus the Pirates. That's right. Wild. That is
the idea that somebody even keeps track of that kind of stuff just knocks my socks off, honestly, Crawly.
but the fact of the matter is you get good starting pitching, and the bullpen, Dustin, has really been the savior of this team over the last 2 weeks, even longer than that. The Cubs bullpen has posted a .90 ERA, 10 earned runs in the last 100 innings pitched. In the last 28 games since May 14th, the lowest in the majors. But Dustin, teams go through these types of slumps, and the Cubs offense is in one of those slumps. They need to snap out of it with the Brewers coming to town. Milwaukee's dusted themselves off and are trying to pull themselves back into the race in the Central. You can win 2 or 3. You can win scoring 2 or 3 runs against the Pirates. I don't know if that's going to work against the Brewers.
This is the Fly the W podcast. It's episode 39 of season number 4. We're calling this one the Cubs Squeak by the Pirates. Don't forget to listen, download, review, subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. You can email us at crawlysclubhouse@gmail.com. And don't forget, you can watch us on Crawly's Clubhouse YouTube page. So, Crawly, there are games in progress as we are recording right now, but the Cubs are not playing, and the Brewers aren't playing because they're going to be here. I don't think the Cardinals are playing. They had a day off, too. It's a light night. And very interesting that the Cubs and Sox will come back home. They'll be back at home at the same time. White Sox will be hosting the Cardinals, one of my hardest games to find somebody to root for.
Well, right now you can root for the White Sox for that one, but this NL Central is getting wild here. Cubs are in first place, 44 and 28. They're 5-5 in their last 10. So are the Brewers at 39 and 34. But the Brewers are 5.5 back. But now the Reds have gone on a little bit of a heater. They're 7-3 in their last 10. They're now tied with St. Louis for third place at 37 and 35. The Cardinals have the flip record of the Reds in the last 10 games. They're 3-7, and the Pirates are 6-4, but they're on a 2-game losing streak thanks to the Cubs. So this is a really key series with the Brewers coming into town. Yeah, now, when we take a look at no problem. When we look at the roster and injury report, we got Drew Pomerantz, Dustin. This is scary. We talked about how valuable he is. He has back tightness. He is day to day, and so that flared up on the 14th versus the Pirates, and he was unavailable on the 15th. And so they're going to check him out tomorrow when the Cubs play on the 17th, but he may end up on the IL. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we'll see, right? We'll see about that one.
Right. Now, left-handed pitcher Shota Imanana, he pitched 4 scoreless innings June 14th in his second rehab start at rookie level Arizona Complex League. Our friend of the podcast, Rich Biesterfeld, had some great photos of that. Check him out on X. or Twitter, whatever you call it. But his next start will likely be with AAA Iowa on June 20th.
And then what do you think? If things go well after that one, do you think then do you think he pitches for the Cubs at the professional level, Crawly, before the 4th of July?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Eli Morgan was also in that ACL game. He threw 15 pitches in 1 inning, 2 strikeouts in his first rehab outing. Miguel Amaya, remember him? He began.
It's funny you say it that way, though, because everybody's been so focused on Shota and what his timeline is that we've kind of forgotten a little bit about Miguel Amaya.
Well, yeah, you're right. And he began a throwing program on June 13th for the first time since suffering his injury. And so that's interesting to kind of keep an eye on. Now, I don't think Amaya is going to be back until after the All-Star break, if you want my honest opinion. Porter Hodge, he threw 14 pitches in 1 scoreless inning in Iowa, AAA Iowa. But Dustin, this becomes interesting. So Hodge did well, no problems, felt good, right? And he's been closing, but he's a reliever, right? And then you have Drew Pomerantz, who has this day-to-day issue, and we don't know if it's any worse. Now, we have a little problem here. It's a good problem to have. You've heard Jed Hoyer say a million times, you never have too much pitching, but the Cubs kind of have that problem. And here's where the issue comes in. I'm putting up a chart up here where it shows service time, right? And if you take a look at that column next to the green and the yellow right there, the only one of the Cubs relievers that has options is Daniel Palencia, who you're not going to send down to AAA.
No, you're not sending him down. Nope.
The only other guy that has options is Porter Hodge. So this bullpen that's absolutely rocking: Ryan Presley, Brad Keller, Drew Pomerantz, Ryan Brazier, Caleb Thielbar, Genesis Cabrera, Chris Flexen. Chris Flexen doesn't have any options left. It is available because he doesn't have 5 years service time. But basically, you bring any of those guys down, or if you bring Porter Hodge up, somebody has to go down, and they have to go through waivers. One of those guys. Now, you're going to say to me, okay, Crawly, I guess I'll go with Genesis Cabrera. Okay, but keep in mind, you're going to have to bring someone else down when Shota Imanana comes out. Yep. You're paying for Eli Morgan. You got a lot of these guys. This is going to be, there's a traffic jam. Like I said, good problem to have. Who you keeping? Who you getting rid of? Do you want to get rid of Brad Keller? I mean, you're not going to get rid of Ryan Presley. That's not even an option. Nope. Brazier you paid for. I want to say Thielbar you paid for as a free agent. Flexen's been really great for the Cubs. He's done a good job. I mean, I don't know what they do when you look at this list.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. But that's one of those good problems, right? You just have to hope they make the right choice. All-star voting is underway, Crawly, and we got to make sure everybody listening to this podcast goes out and votes for their favorite Cub.
Yep, we just got an update, and they showed the NL vote leaders. And right now, if the All-Star game was held today, your starters would be PCA and Kyle Tucker in the outfield.
Very good. Very good, Cub fans. Nice job.
Keep it going and get those other guys in, because there's a couple guys that are on the bubble. But it's really obviously Cubs and Dodgers centric on here. A lot, 1, 2, 3, 4 Dodgers on there, 2 Cubs. You got Francisco Lindor at shortstop, Ketel Marte at second, and Manny Machado at third. So keep voting, man. Let's get some more Cubbies in there, right?
Absolutely. Yesterday, Crawly, on Father's Day, big, huge, large trade, and it could affect the Cubs from a standpoint of playoff seeding, right?
Yeah, how many times are the Red Sox going to get rid of a face of a franchise to the West Coast, right? They traded Rafael Devers. Now we know that the Red Sox gave Rafael Devers a big contract, one of the best hitting third basemen, but his defense is okay. They went and they got Alex Bregman. Remember, that was the Cubs were in competition to try to do that. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't, who knows? But either way, Red Sox got him, and they're going to move. They don't ask Devers about it. They just do it. And now Devers is not happy. They say, okay, go DH. He's fine after grumbling and moaning. He DHs. But then when their first baseman gets injured, they want him to play first base. He's not happy about that. So they trade him, and now the Giants get Rafael Devers because Matt Chapman has a finger injury. And the Red Sox get Jordan Hicks, Kyle Harrison, James Tibbs III, and Jose Bayo. So like you said, the Giants are going to be one of those teams in the hunt for a postseason spot. They're the first to make a move, and it's early.
It's early. They're the first ones. Shota Imanana is getting ready to get going again for the Cubs, but his countryman, Shohei Ohtani, right? Getting back on the mound.
He's getting
an opener on Monday night.
Yeah, 2 returns, right? You got very shortly, we're going to have Shohei Ohtani going up in his first pitching performance since September 2023, first for the Dodgers. So that is huge. The other big one, Giancarlo Stanton being activated for the first time in 2025. The Yankees are having a similar problem as the Cubs, as you're going to bring him back into the starting lineup and on the 26-man roster. Who's going to go down? So they're having the same kind of problem as the Cubs. But again, it's good to have these problems rather than all our players suck type problems.
This is season 4, episode 39 of the Fly the W podcast. We're calling this one the Cubs Squeak by the Pirates. If you're listening, thank you for doing so. We need you to listen. We need you to download. We need to review. We need to subscribe. 5-star reviews. We'll take those too. You can email us a question. Crawly and I'll have an answer. Crawly's Clubhouse, gmail.com. Crawly's Clubhouse at gmail.com. All right, Crawly, it's the calm before the storm here. We've got a couple of night games, then a day game. Brewers in town and the Cubs 5.5 ahead in the lead of this division.
Yeah, last time we saw the Brewers was in the beginning of May. The Cubs took 2 of 3 in Milwaukee. The Cubs took game 1 behind 6 scoreless innings by Ben Brown and a 7-run second inning that included Michael Busch's first career grand slam. Cubs took game 1, 10-0. Cubs took game 2 behind a quality start from J-Mo and a 3-run homer by PCA. Cubs won that one 6-2. Unfortunately, the game I went to on Sunday when they were going for the sweep, Freddie Peralta and the Brewers shut out the Cubs offense, and Shota Imanana took the loss as the Brewers prevented the Cubs by taking the finale 4-0. And that's last time we saw Shota Imanana. So, since that matchup, the Brewers struggled the rest of May until May 26 against the Pirates. They won that game 6-5, swept the Red Sox and Phillies, and beat the Reds on June 2nd. They had an 8-game winning streak going, Dustin. They took the series in Cincy. They lost the series against the Padres and then the Braves before taking 3 out of 4 this weekend against the division rival Cardinals with former Cub Wilson Contreras. He's always been hated in Milwaukee, and they just hate him even more now. He had some very harsh words to say about Rhys Hoskins, and he was also involved in him and his brother both hit a home run in the same inning. And so they became the second pair of brothers to homer in the same inning as opponents since 1900. But
that's an amazing stat.
Yeah,
love it.
The Brewers are in second place in the NL Central, like you said, but they're 5-5 in their last 10. The Brewers are 23-15 at home, 16-19 on the road. They're 26-25 against teams with a winning record. And so this one, Dustin, in my opinion, is going to be interesting.
Yep, it should be a fantastic matchup. There's no doubt about that, but I like that number, the 26-25 against teams with a winning record. So just a little bit over 500. How about the tail of the tape, Crawly? Let's get into that.
All right. Remember, this is over the season. Batting average, the Cubs are 5th with 254. That keeps dropping. Brewers are 23rd with 236. Slug, the Cubs slug the Brewers 435. They're 4th in baseball, while the Brewers are 364, puts them 28th. But the thing about the Brewers, like they always do, is they hit when it counts. With runners in scoring position, the Cubs are still second at 285. But the Brewers, even though they're 28th in slug and 23rd in batting average, they're 14th with runners in scoring position, 254. Starting pitching is where the Brewers have the edge. They have an ERA of 3.38, which is 4th in baseball, while the Cubs have a starting pitcher ERA of 3.87, which is 15th. We talked about the bullpen, and usually the Brewers have a better bullpen than the Cubs. Not this year. The Cubs bullpen whip is 1.24, 11th in baseball. We're about cracking the top 10 now, Dustin, whereas the Brewers are 18th with a 131. And when it comes to fielding, the Cubs are 3rd with 38 defensive runs saved, and the Brewers are 11 with 15 runs saved.
All right, very good. Pitching probables in this one. We'll get first game. It's going to be Ben Brown, and he's been better at Wrigley than he has been on the road, right?
Yeah, he's 3-5 with a 5.71 ERA in 14 games, 12 of those starts with 83 strikeouts, 69 in the third innings. Ben's season's been up and downs. After struggling for a few starts, Counsell used an opener against the Reds, and Ben pitched 6 shutout innings to give up only 1 hit. In his next start against Tariq Skubal, he went toe-to-toe with one of the best, gave up 2 runs in 7 innings and struck out 7, no opener. Unfortunately, his last start against the Phillies, the team that drafted him, he gave up 6 runs in 5 2/3 innings. Ben, though, is 2-0 lifetime against the Brewers in 2 starts and has an ERA of 0 in 13 innings of work, including 6 shutout innings on May 2nd in Milwaukee. Nobody has more than 6 at-bats against Ben. Yelich is 0 for 6, Jackson Chourio 0 for 5, and William Contreras and Bryce Terang are both 1 for 5. Ben's a little bit better at Wrigley than on the road, but that's changed after a couple rough starts on the road. So for the Brewers, Chad Patrick is a 26-year-old righty who made his MLB debut on March 29th. He's 3-6 with a 3.25 ERA in 15 games. 14 of them starts with 71 strikeouts in 74 2/3 inning. On May 31st, he picked up the win versus the Phillies, giving up 2 runs in 6 innings with 6 Ks. He was a tough luck loser on June 6th, gave up only 1 run on 4 hits in 6 innings versus the Padres. So that was back-to-back really good starts, but he struggled in his last start on June 11th against the Braves, gave up 5 runs, 2 homers, and 5 innings of work with 8 Ks. No one on Cubs has seen this kid at the major league level. Patrick relies on a cutter, 4-seamer, and sinker, and will throw the occasional changeup and slider.
All right, very good. So that's the game number 1 matchup. Game number 2, Jameson Taillon back out there on the mound at Wrigley with the ball in his hand. It's another night game.
Yeah, this is against Jacob Misiorowski. You're going to want to pay attention to that name. Taillon 7-3 with a 3.48 ERA in 14 games, started with 65 strikeouts and 82 1/3 innings. JMO has a streak of 6 straight quality starts that he's going to put on the line. On June 1st, he gave up 2 runs in 6 1/3 against the Rockies. On June 7th against Detroit, he gave up 1 run in 7 innings. And his last time out against the Pirates, he gave up 6 runs in 6 1/3 innings. JMO, though, is 5-9 lifetime against the Brewers in 19 games, 18 of those starts with a 3-13 ERA. On May 3rd, he gave up 2 runs in 6 innings in Milwaukee. Jameson has to be careful with Christian Yelich, who's 10 for 33 with 2 home runs against him. And Jackson Chourio is 5 for 10 with a home run and 4 RBIs. Wilson Contreras, on the other hand, is 2-19 against JMO. You want to talk about splits, Dustin. As good as JMO has been all season, he's a little bit better at Wrigley. 3-1 with a 2.72 ERA versus 4-2 on the road with a 4.31 ERA. He likes those day games and a cup of coffee. It's a night game, but he pitches well at Wrigley. But for the Brewers, they got a young phenom on the mound, Jacob Misiorowski. He was a 23-year-old righty. He was the Brewers' 2nd overall pick out of Crowder Junior College in Missouri. He is 6'7", 197 pounds. He's
he needs to have a sandwich. I mean, that's not a lot of weight on 6'7".
Neither was Randy Johnson, and he could throw it up there, and so can this kid, Dustin. He made his pitching debut Thursday night against the Cardinals and did not disappoint. He pitched 5 scoreless innings, striking out 5 and walking 4 batters, and did not give up a hit while throwing 81 pitches. This is his debut. And if you take a look here, this is most pitches at 100 miles per hour thrown by a starter since pitch tracking, which began in 2008. Hunter Green had 20th and 22. Paul Skeens had 17 on his debut against the Cubs last season. Mason Miller 2 years ago made his debut. He had 15 against the Cubs. Misiorowski had 14 against the Cardinals. This kid throws heat, Dustin. I'm not kidding you. His fastball averages 99 miles per hour, has a 94 mile per hour slider. His curve's 91. His changeup, Dustin, his changeup averages 91, which is, I think, like what, some of the Cubs starters throw. The biggest issue with Misiorowski, though, is he walks a lot. His walk rate has gone down enough in the minors to call him up. But you take a look at his first outing. He basically had as many strikeouts as walks, 5-4. So he's going to strike out a lot of guys. He's going to walk a lot of guys. And so, again, just like we talked about with Skeens, with any really good pitcher, be patient. Easy for me to say I'm not facing that heat in the box. But this is a guy that, throws a lot of pitches. So we're going to see.
He's going to be amped up, you'd figure, right? In Wrigley, what's going on in this series. He'll hear about the rivalry. He'll be amped up. Obviously, the Cubs haven't faced him at all, so there's no awareness of this guy coming where he's coming from. All right, Game 3. This is the afternoon affair, and nice pitching matchup again. Cade Horton finds himself up against the ace, if you will, of the Brewers staff, and that, of course, is Freddie Peralta.
Yeah, Cade is 3-1 with a 3.47 ERA in 7 games. 6 of those starts with 29 strikeouts in 36 1/3 inning. On June 3rd against the Nationals, he gave up 3 runs, only one of them earned in 5 1/3 innings. And against Detroit on June 8th, he gave up 4 runs in 5 innings. In his last start against Paul Skeens and the Pirates, he pitched 5 2/3 shutout innings. He was not up with the team the last time the Cubs played the Brewers. He was called up after Shota got injured. So none of the Brewers hitters have seen him. Cade is 1-0 at Wrigley in 3 starts with a 2.70 ERA versus 2-1 on the road with a 4.12 ERA.
You like that split, 2-7 at home, right? So
And for the Brewers, like you said, Freddie Peralta 6-4 with a 2.60 ERA in 15 games started with 84 strikeouts in 84 innings. On June 3rd against the Reds, he got the loss. He gave up 3 runs in 6 innings. In his next start against the Padres, he pitched 6 scoreless innings, gave up only 1 hit. In his last start against the Cardinals, he picked up the win, giving up only 1 run on 6 innings. Peralta's a whopping 7-2 against the Cubs in 19 games. 14 of those starts with the 2.93 ERA, including 6 scoreless against the Cubs when I saw him in Milwaukee on May 4th. Cubs as a team slash 171, 262, 326 against Peralta. Ian Happ is 2 for 29. Nico 5 for 23. Dansby 2 for 17. Or Sayas 2 for 17. Dansby's 1 for 17. The only real hope is Kyle Tucker has someone in front of him on base. He's 4 for 5, but in a small sample size. Peralta's a big strikeout pitcher using that 4-stream curve ball and changeup.
All right, Crawly, hot and not time. And I know one guy for sure is going to be on this list, Nico Horner. He had a really nice couple of games at Wrigley for a team not doing a whole heck of a lot on offense.
Yeah, you got 2 guys on the hot list this week. Nico 8 for 22 with 1 RBI, 364, 391, 455, and his double play partner, Dansby Swanson up here, 7 for 22 with 2 home runs, 4 RBIs. He's on one of his hot streaks, 318, 348, 591, 939. Like we talked about last time, Kyle Tucker, 250, Seiya, 240, Ian Happ, 238, Michael Busch, 222, PCA, though, and Matt Shaw. The youngsters are really cold. In the last week, PCA is slashing 158, 158, 316, and Matt Shaw is hitting 1 for his last 18, .056, .105, .056. So we need those kids to turn it around. But like I said, it's going to happen with the youngsters.
All right. How about the Brewers? Who do Cub fans need to be worried about, Crawly?
You know, Dustin, he's not a big name, but Sal Frelick to me is always really impressive every time I see him. He's 8 for his last 22, with 5 RBIs, slashing 364, 417, 455. Look out for Christian Yelich. He's 5 for his last 15 with a home run and 2 RBIs. And Jackson Chourio, the youngster's 8 for his last 25 with 2 triples, 2 home runs, and 5 RBIs. So he's been the power for the Brewers lately. As far as the not, William Contreras, we just mentioned him as 3 for his last 20.
Let's hope that continues. Let's hope that continues.
He always does good against the Cubs. He is
a pain in the backside, that guy.
Yeah, I think he does it in the name of his brother, but he slashes 150, 280, 400. And then Rhys Hoskins, first baseman's 2 for his last 22. So he hasn't been hitting really well either.
All right, prediction time, Crawly. Big series. It's early on, but again, the Cubs have that 5.5 game lead, an opportunity to really put some distance between themselves and the Brewers. The Brewers took care of business against the Cardinals. So the Cubs lead against the Cardinals as we're doing this is 7 games. What are you thinking here?
I'm going to be honest with you. I think the Brewers are going to take 2 out of 3, which kills me because I'm going to be going to 2 out of 3 of these games. I don't like I feel like I like game 1 the best. I feel like Ben Brown is one, he's had 2 starts against the Brewers. The Brewers haven't hit him well. Hopefully that continues and he can bounce back. I'm nervous about, game 2, they have a really good chance of winning too, but I'm just worried about that Jacob Misiorowski. And then game 3, they just don't hit Peralta well.
They don't hit Peralta, and I'm worried the way the offense is going. I think Cade Horton keeps them in. I'm going to say the Cubs take 2 out of 3. I'm most confident in game number 1. You did some great research and great background for our audience about this young kid. But I'm going to go with that the moment might be just a little bit too big for him. I think if the Cubs have the right approach, they can work this guy. And what I mean by work him is work that pitch count up, right? Have a good eye, force some walks, put a little pressure on them. Cub fans will get behind their team with some runners on base. So, I mean, basically the offense really can't do much worse than it's doing right now, right?
Well, that's what worries me.
I get it. I don't disagree. I'm just trying to be a tad bit more optimistic than you are right this second.
I feel like you were mentioning, the Brewers took care of business. That was a high stakes series. They were behind the Cardinals and they took care of them 3 out of 4 this weekend. And if they got a lot of guys that are clicking right now that are hitting over 300 over the last week, whereas the Cubs have been awful. And I just feel like you're going to face better starting pitching. And so I think this is just going to be a tougher task. Maybe the Cubs do come out of it and can break out of this, but I just kind of feel like everybody's kind of struggling at the same time. Can they score enough runs? Like I said, you can do that against the Pirates. I just don't think you can have another performance like that against the Brewers.
That's a wrap. Don't forget to listen, download, review, and subscribe to that Fly the W podcast. Got a question? We'll get you answered. Email us, crawleysclubhouse@gmail.com, and you can watch us by subscribing to Crawley's Clubhouse on the YouTube channel. Crawley, enjoy the time down at the Federal Landmark, and we will get back together hopefully Thursday afternoon talking about a couple of W's.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. Hopefully everyone's coming out. It's always a classic rivalry, and hopefully, our Northsiders can pull it off against the Cheeseheads. Go Cubs!
It's all over.